Just wait a few minutes. Excellent. So it's 10 o'clock. Welcome everyone to our session today, where we're talking about starting strong and being financially savvy. So we've got, I have a few slides that I'll pop into the emails after the event. You'll get a recording of this as well. So don't stress, you don't have to take notes while you're listening. We've got a few people that will be reviewing the recording in their own time, which I think is great because, you know, it's always hard to get to things at a certain time. I mean, great if you want to ask questions, but also it's a really busy, you know, time of the year and end of the quarter as well for BAS lodgement. So I know it's a busy time for people. So, but thanks for listening in. So part of what I've created here with the Regional Collective is I guess a framework of small business guides. So we've called it My Business Compass because we believe there's, you know, lots of different ways to do business. We just want to support you in your way to do what you do best. And this has come from learning some very challenging times through my own businesses that were just started just before COVID, a co-working space, not ideal just before COVID, and a regional e-commerce and retail store collective, makers and merchants. So again, not ideal when borders were shut for quite a few years. But anyway, so we learn from these, you know, these experiences, and through My Business Compass, we've got 6 core topics. So we do brand identity, financial savvy, marketing strategies, leadership and teams, the way we work, so like processes, how you just operate, and reflect, evolve, and scale. So those sort of 6 topics really cover the foundations of business. So what we want to do is make it easier for you as a business owner to know where you're at in your business knowledge, make it easier for you to work through that and upskill, because everything is learnt. So I'm a winemaker by trade, so everything is and can be learnt. So that's kind of, I guess, the purpose of, you know, sharing these webinars with you, is to give you the knowledge to empower your business journey, learn new things, which is always just something that we're always doing in whenever I do Zooms, I just start yawning, so it's not me being bored of the topics, this is just what happens when I hop on the computer here. But I guess, you know, looking at the being financially savvy and starting strong, so I think it's a really good head mindset to get into, is to start how you want to finish up. So even if I'm just a small hobby business owner, I'm just you know, a small solopreneur, there's only one of me, I think a really good mindset to approach business in is to treat it like a business from the start. So that means in this particular case, knowing our numbers, and making sure that we are in charge of the numbers rather than the other way around. Because speaking from personal experience, that's not a fun place to be in. It's very stressful and it can lead to breakdown, and, you know, closing of businesses and things like that. So understanding your numbers is crucial. I guess looking at just the basics of what we need to know revenue, so that's what money we're making or is coming in across onto our side of the ledger sheet, I suppose. Expenses, so that's what's going out, what's it costing us to do business and to be in business. And then at the end of it all, you've got the difference, which is the profit or loss. So I guess, you know, being really familiar with what are your sources of revenue, of income, how do you get money into your business, being able to know what does it cost you to do your business. If you're service-based, if you are product-based, it can be a little bit different. And then you'll have, within those costs, you'll have direct and variable, I suppose, or fixed and variable. You have direct, indirect. So there's a few different terms there. I'll pop that in a table on our notes. But really it's, making sure that you know how much does it cost to keep the lights on. So some of those are your overheads. So things like, I've just got an example because I thought it'd be good to have an example. So if you're a local cafe, your daily sales are your revenue. So you know that what people are buying, that money that's coming in, that's what we know is our revenue. So that's money coming into our business. Our expenses would be cost of coffee, rent, electricity, water, wages. So some of those we know would be fixed. So it's like every month we know what the cost is. Some may be variable. So the cost of coffee, well, if you sell lots of coffee, you're going to have to buy in lots of coffee. So you see they sort of work hand in hand. So those can be, if we can keep some good data, so historical data, we can forecast for that. So sort of, you would know, on the weekends we have a lot more customers coming into the cafe. So we know that our orders will be up for the weekend, but then they'll go down during the week or something like that. So there's that fixed and variable costs. And then what you've got left over is your profit, hopefully, and not a loss. So making sure that you know what these metrics are just at a basic level for your business is good to just, maybe write them down, think about what are those big, and I would always look at just the big ticket items first because we want to know every cost and income into our business, but we also can start by just doing the big ticket ones because they make the most impact. The biggest cost and the biggest expenses or the biggest incomes, identifying those will be able to get an idea of where our budgeting or where our sales, where our revenue is coming from, where our costs are going. So I guess, then looking at budgeting, how we can use that as a guide and a bit of a roadmap for how our business is tracking, how we might be able to, take on new opportunities as they present themselves. So making sure that we've got somewhere to plan all the other activities that come from it. So this is why in my business compass in the course, we start off with brand identity because we need to know why we're in business and what we're doing and how we can be sure that we've captured that why. And the next bit is not to go into marketing and strategies because that's more of a fun bit for a lot of people, but it's actually getting these numbers right, because if we don't have a really clear sense of what the budget is and the story that is going to tell us, the decisions that we can make from it, all those other decisions are driven by this brand identity and the financial savvy. So it depends on how much marketing you've got, like money you've got to spend for marketing, how much you can put towards, promoting, or it may be, so if you're a candle business, how much you can spend on packaging and bags or boxes to put things in. So that's all driven by these, this core budget that we've got to set up at the start. So even if you are a small business, please just do the budget and do it regularly, because it's going to tell you so much about your business. And also by reviewing it, so this is part of what that reflect, evolve and scale is. So by reviewing, all of our processes, we can get a sense of, and by doing it regularly, do we need to change it? Do we need to tweak it? Is there something else that's telling us? Because again, from my experience, by not being on top of those numbers and seeing those and having a really good understanding of it, there were so many red flags that it wasn't funny. So it helps you to plan, it helps you to know where to spend your resources. So again, if you're starting up, you're going to want to make sure that you've got the best return on your investment. So what you're spending, you want to make sure it's the best way to spend that money. So if you were looking at your budget and going, my cost for packaging, let's go with the candle business, my cost for packaging, if I'm looking at and reviewing my budget, it's creeping up. That would indicate maybe if we can't find any, better prices for the quality and, appropriate use of what you're using those, those goods for, then maybe that would be a flag and let you know you need to up your prices. So one of our, so with Workspace Barossa, we had co-working space, and on reflection, one of the things that I was not quick enough to act upon was that increase in electricity, our increase in rent. All of those went up quite significantly each year. And it wasn't until probably year 3 or 4 out of the 5 that I put into our new contracts and let our existing business owners, co-workers know each July we're going to have to put the prices up just as standard. I think I did 3%, but I just had to put that in place because we hadn't done that for the first 3 years. So that was eating into whatever profit margin I had there because I wasn't looking closely enough at those numbers. So the budget can let you know, do we need to look at our pricing structure? Maybe we can tweak it a little bit. It can also look at if you've got your income, so you can maybe split it out and say, well, this product, I want to see what the income is for this product. This secondary product, I want to see that. So you can actually split it out and start to see, well, actually, we're selling so much more of this secondary product. So maybe if we tweak that price a little bit by volume, we'll actually be getting more income coming in. So there's lots of things that the budget can tell you. So make sure that you've got, so we've got a budget template, which I think I've got sent in the emails after this anyway. But again, if you've got Xero, there's a budget tracker on there. QuickBooks, I think you can as well, or just a spreadsheet or a list. Start it simple, but make sure you've got a budget for the next month. So let's go for March because we're at the end of February now. So March, write down your expected income and maybe split it out by products or services that you've got. And then expenses. What do you know are the expenses? Is it the subscriptions for, let's say, Xero, for Canva, for, just trying to think of what else mine are, website hosting, insurance, what else? So list those down. So then you've got your income, your costs, your expenses, and then see income minus expenses. That's your net profit. So have a look and see what that looks like, and then we'll talk about cash flow later. But let's make sure that we've got that for March. That's your challenge. So as we were just talking about before, profit margin is another thing that we need to be really sure about because, and especially I've found with small and micro business owners, we love what we do and we want to share what we do. And it's hard to sometimes feel justified to ask for a margin on top of what really we've, costed or valued our business, our services at. And it's also no surprise that it's a lot of female business owners that feel that way. So I did a post last week about valuing what you're worth. So charging for your passion, charging for your energy and your value that you bring to your business, because I think that is something that we need to be more conscious of. And believe me, it gets easier. But also what I found is knowing your numbers better gives you the confidence to say, well, that's my price. I don't discount. This is a fair and reasonable for the value. Like, you shouldn't have to explain it, but being really confident in your numbers of how you've gotten to that helps you to have those conversations. If people want to go elsewhere, then that's fine. They've got the option. But you want to be really clear about what you're offering and pricing it appropriately. So I've got a workbook, which is like pricing playbook, so to help people work out how to price their products and services. So that's available as well. But really making sure that you've got a profit margin, which is basically meaning, so if you've got, I've got examples. So if you were a market stall holder and you sell $500 worth of goods, it costs you $350 to be there to make the items, then your profit is $150. So then what you do is you do that $150 divided by 500, so what you've your revenue in, and times by 100. Anyway, I'll pop this on the sheet as well. But your profit margin is 30%. So I would say 30 to 50% is quite doable and healthy. There may be products that you can put more on, perhaps, or less on, depending on, on what your approach is. So what I want you to do is work out what your profit margin is on each of the services and or products that you sell. So you want to make sure, so I'll pop the in the handout, there will be the formula for it. So make sure that you've got a 30% or more profit margin, and just see how that feels from a pricing point of view. So there's also other considerations, so if we work out, again, I'll go back to a candle maker. So if we work out, the cost of providing the candle and then adding a profit margin on top, it's going to be $129. You have to look at market approach, affordability, I suppose, or see where you sit in the market, and your branding. Is that actually a $129 branded candle? Are people going to pay for it? Is the rest of the brand going to support and sustain that? So there may be, you'd have to go back and go, well, actually, we can't market this at $129 per candle. That's kind of like really up there. We're going to have to look at our expenses, our costs of doing it. We're going to have to find cheaper glassware, or we're going to have to find, maybe we don't do boxes, maybe just do bubble wrap in a bag or something like that. So you're going to have to look at those options, but that's what working these the profit margins out, because I can tell you that without a 30% profit margin, with all of the ups and downs of business, you'll find it really hard to be sustainable. And also, make sure that you're paying yourself through the business. So I should have said that before, but part of setting up that budget is setting up a line there, which is after your gross profit, put in owner's drawings or owner's salary. Pardon me, because we want then that to be reflected in the net profit. So we want to make sure that we're, and again, this is setting things out to be, ready to go for the long term. If you needed to subcontract out the work that you do in your business or replace you in your business, what would it cost? But from personal experience as well, I worked probably 6 years with no salary and no income. And I was a slave to my businesses and the people that I've represented in those businesses. And it was not a healthy way to work. I think we do need to be valued in our businesses and keep them as a separate entity. That personal and business, finances needs to be really separated, but also creating some boundaries for ourselves. So that's it from personal experience. So I'm just going to have a little drink of coffee, sorry. So hopefully by now you've got a bit of a handle on, the finance terms, the things that we need to be looking at, and then we look at cash flow. So I just might show you, let me see if I can get this up. So hopefully you've downloaded the cash flow template. I don't know if I've got it saved. Let me just share my screen, sorry. Sorry, I didn't get this quite set up right. Share screen. Share screen. Right. Can we see that? Good. So this is the cash flow confidence guide. So wanting to, again, this is through learning from terrible experiences of not knowing where your money is coming in and when it's coming in. So it's a timed look at your budget. So in the template, make sure you set up where your money is coming in from. So it can be multiple, this is what I was saying, in your budget, it can be multiple lines. So it may be that you've got, products that you're selling. There might be some consulting services. It may be digital products or something like that. There's maybe a few different lines. And then I would also suggest that if you use a program like Xero or QuickBooks, that you actually put them in as different account items, so different lines. So then you've got more knowledge and more power over what's happening in your business, not just, there's money coming in. It's like, well, where is it coming from? When is it coming from? When is it coming in from those different streams? So check out that. So put in your own, so the spreadsheet is customizable. So for you to use, download, and then it's just a way to get you started if you're not having, and even if you do use like Xero on there, I still use spreadsheets. So I use, the numbers that are in Xero for me, that's the true source of information, but I pull them out and I use them and I muck around with them in spreadsheets because I love spreadsheets, color coding them and everything. But yeah, use it to be able to identify where your revenue is coming in from. Then look at where your money's going out. So basically cash flow is, have you got more coming in than going out? So putting things like, again, those fixed costs, the rent, if you've got salaries, if you've got people or consultants that you use, what does it say? Electricity, if there's loan repayments, this is, and I always have a line in there for GST just to make sure that I'm not, that I'm squirreling that away for when the BASs are due if I need to pay. So all of those operating expenses. So you want to see what's the overall cash coming in, what's the overall cash going out. And then your bottom line then is, is your what's left over. So cash flow means you've got this inflow and outflow of cash, and it's timed, so month to month. And we know also that there's, we all know in small business, there's peaks and troughs within the month. So it may be a good example or a good exercise to do, maybe just to, if you are going week to week at the moment, maybe go look in this 4 weeks, what does it actually look like? Maybe start tracking that and seeing when money comes in, particularly when, if you're using third-party payment like Stripe or in Shopify and things like that to be able to, and even just waiting for banks to process funds coming in, that can take 2 to 4 days. So we can't be kind of like, we want to make sure that we've got a bit of a buffer there, but also that we know. Again, power is in the knowledge. So get a spreadsheet set up, make sure you're having a look and seeing what your cash flow is looking like, money in, money out, and timed. So whether it's week to week, if you really need to do that, or just by month to month. So then you can start to see, you'll start building up that cash flow reserve, I suppose, which I'll use at the bottom of the, let me see if I've got an example of that. Right. So here, so this income, cost of goods, so we've got a gross profit there. We've got all of our expenses. Tax I like to keep separate, owner salary, keep separate. And then this net profit down here. So for, let's say, month 1 was 814. So month 2, excellent, we've made 1,004 net profit. But our net cash position is actually the month before plus the current month. So it's $1,800. So by seeing that bottom line there and that gradual, growth, hopefully, is what we want to see of our net cash position. So this should be around about what's left in the accounts at the end of each month. You can start to see, I need to buy maybe some new machinery. I need to buy something else, or I want to spend some more money on marketing and advertising or whatnot. By having a look at this cash flow position, you can see, actually, by month 4, we're $3,000 and a bit. We should be okay. I reckon I can spend $1,000 to invest in blah, blah, blah. So you can make some better decisions then by using that example. So this is the budget template that I've got in the cash flow template, I hope, I'll double check. And yeah, so I guess looking at how then we can use when we analyze that cash flow, we can start to make adjustments. So you might be like, oh, do you know what? It doesn't work that we're paying monthly for subscriptions, perhaps. By the time I earn this much, I'm going to switch it over to an annual for, a couple of these ones. Again, you want to sort of phase it over, over time, so they're not all coming out in one particular month, or maybe you want to, depending if your business is quite seasonal, you might want to do that. So being able to track that data, again, it builds up some more of your historical data. You can start to see, we had a real dip then in that month, but then we came back up this month. So, okay, if I see, $10,000 in the account, I know that looking at my cash flow, we're going to have a quieter month in June, July. Perhaps it's, that seasonal, maybe you're more of a summer touristy business, perhaps. So by looking at the cash flow, you'll be able to see and make better decisions for your business then. So I'll just put down some tips for best practice. So to keep on top of it, again, knowing is key, but then also making sure you're building in a little bit of a reserve, a bit of a buffer there. So we don't want to be going month to month to month. Being quick on receiving, like sending and receiving invoices, make sure that part of your business is, as efficient as it can be. Follow up on late payments. I mean, if you use Xero or QuickBooks, there's settings in there that you can send customized emails for reminders. It'll be done automatically. You can send pre-reminders. So even in Xero, you can say, well, send this 2 days before it's due, and your email can be, hey, just a reminder to allow for bank processing, da, 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 da. Please make sure, or you can set up auto pay for people. So make sure you've got lots of options there for them. Make it easier for people to pay you, and then follow up if anyone's late. Because otherwise, so again, from personal experience, you get into a cycle of where you're owed money, but then you owe money, then you owe money. Like, it is just a vicious cycle, and it's not a good place to be in. But being on top of those, invoices out to then bring invoices in and process all of that makes it a lot easier. Each month, be reviewing your budget and just really having a hard look at your expenses, because you want to make your money work really hard for you, because we want to, thrive in our businesses. And by not knowing what your expenses are, not knowing why you've got a subscription to something else which you don't really use, get rid of it, because you'll see that cumulative effect of each month. If your expenses are just that little bit less, then your profit margin's that little bit more, and then that sort of month on month on month, that's where we start to see real growth. And again, trying to get better deals from your suppliers. So having a look at going, look, can I buy in bulk when and that's where looking at your cash flow can help you. Can I purchase more, get a better deal per item, there's lots of things that we can see with that cash flow chart. Plan for seasonal changes. So if you're having a slow or a busy period, it can help you, again, save up cash or know that you've got more coming in, so you can just actually make an investment or do something else. Again, it's timed. And then the other thing is knowing how long it takes for you to get your money in. So whether you're using Stripe, if it's direct transfer, like bank to, business to business, direct debit, or my credit card. See what I'm saying? Making sure that you're onto that, because it can help you smooth things out. So I think I had, there you go. Just, so again, so that's the cash flow, what's the saying? Cash flow confidence guide. So making sure that, you've got those tools and just get started on it. It doesn't have to be, so I'm just moving my screen around. It doesn't have to be fancy. I would like it if you have fancy colours, because you can see on the I've been quite restrained on the customizable templates. Normally you should see mine as just like a rainbow of colours. But yeah, so you can then use that data if you want, if you're more of a visual person, you can use it to put into graphs or tables or something like that. But find a way that works for you to actually track money coming in versus money going out, and making sure it's always more in than out. But then also having a look at what you're spending it on. You want your money to work hard for you. So my call to action would be being consistent. So try and have March be a really consistent month for you to be looking at your numbers. Our next core topic is marketing strategies for the My Business Compass, and that is more exciting, I think, because it's like colours and marketing strategies and things, logos, photos, all that sort of stuff. But if we don't have a handle on our numbers, we're going to do a shit job of the marketing. It's going to be wasted money. If we don't know what we need, when we need it, how we're going to approach it, there's just going to be we're going to get much better results for our hard work and our money by knowing our numbers first. So I guess, the takeaways from today, because we've got 8 minutes, would be just to make sure that you understand what numbers, those financial metrics. So what's in the budget? What does it mean? Write them down. What are your big income pools, I suppose? What pools money in? And what's your big expenses or costs buckets? So where's that money going? And then we'll have a look at what that cash flow or budget, profit margin. So making sure you know how much you've got profit margin from what it costs you to do that part of your business. Make sure it's within that 30 to 50% more if you can, within the market sort of, that reasonable industry, it's not trend, but you know what I mean, norm, because again, you don't want to be charging, super premium prices if your brand can't sustain it. And then making sure that you've got a really good eye on your profit, on your cash flow for March. So make sure that you know when money is due to come in, when money is due to go out. Have a really good look at those expenses to make sure that they're A, worthwhile, B, is it the best price that you can get, and make sure that you download or use our budget template. We've also got a planner that can help you sort of with bigger goals and ways to plan and forecast for your business. So I'll make sure that those are in the emails that follow the webinar. And make sure that you reach out if you've got any questions. So we've got our free Facebook group, Small Biz and Big Hearts. We've got our online course, which is My Business Compass, that comes with our collective membership. So we do weekly knowledge boosts. So they're 20 to 30 minutes each Wednesday night. That's recorded. So again, you can just catch up with them. And they're on a topic that's around, like a subtopic that's around the topic that we do within the Business Compass and the membership. So a few options there, but otherwise just keep an eye on understanding your numbers, know your numbers. Even if you are starting out or small or solopreneur, these are really important to be on top of, because that knowledge is power, makes better decisions. You'll sleep better. You'll also then be more likely to have a successful and thriving business. And, we've got heaps more tools and templates, but also the support is there if you need. But thank you for listening today and have a good rest of the day. Alrighty, bye.